Hey everyone, my name's Ryan, also known as MI Big Mac or Hard Talk, depending on how you know me. What I intend to do here is just kind of show you how I'm going to refinish one of my firearms. What I have is a PTR 91. Now I had a few issues with it in the past. Well, not really with the gun itself, but what I've done is, in the past, when I bought this gun in about 2003, right before the assault weapon ban was set to sunset, and there was a lot of talk there at the time about it being renewed. So I figured it was a gun I'd wanted for a long time, and it was something that I wanted to pick up, hopefully be grandfathered in. So, well, anyways, I've had this firearm here for about going on about 13 years now. When I was younger, I went up north. I live in Michigan, Detroit Tigers. But I went up north with a few friends of mine, and we went shooting on a buddy's property. Well, went up there on a Friday, shot, drank, did stupid shit. But we shot it, or I shot it, and I stuffed it in a case. Well, I didn't take it out until the next Tuesday to clean it. And this is where I got introduced to rust caused by humidity. So it sat in a case all weekend. It was warm, summertime, and humid, moisture, crept into the case and whatnot. When I closed it back up, I had a nice rust patina over the firearm. I don't know how well you can see it there via this camera, but you can see I've got issues here along the reinforcement rails and whatnot. But what I decided to do here is I've looked into it over the past several months, and I've decided that I want to refinish it. I want to reparkerize it. So I've got rust down here on the lower trigger housing, a little bit of rust up here on the front barrel, nothing serious. So what I've already done with this firearm is I've stripped it, and now this is not an HK. It's not an HK, so I'm not worried about resale value here. It's a clone. It was made by Ohio Rapid Fire, gentleman named Todd down there. No relation to the Todd of Special Weapons fame, by the way. But very nice guy. You can't deal with him anymore because unfortunately he passed from cancer a few years back. This is my understanding. It's a JLD. It's a PTR 91 receiver, but he used to build clones of them. He built everything from 91s, 93s, 94s, HK21s if you wanted to spend the money for them. So, anyways, I've stripped all the parts off of it. I've taken everything out of the cocking tube, removed the bolt carrier, everything out of the lower parts group has been removed. So I've got it stripped down into my 3 core components: my buffer end cap, my lower pistol group, and the front group here. I've also taken the time. This was a pre-ban gun, so I've taken the time to remove the fake flash suppressor from the end, and I'm going to put a original HK on there. So that's another thing that I'm going to be reparking. But anyways, I'm going to be reparking, refinishing this, and then I'm going to finish it with gunkote. To do that, I've got my cheap Harbor Freight blast cabinet here. I'm going to be doing a Parkerization procedure here that involves I'll get back to it later in the video. I gotta look it up. But I'm going to be doing a dark park on this, not the light park. This is a grayish park, as you can see. The one that's going to go on here is going to be very dark black. And I'm lucky here in that I really don't have any deterioration of the metal here. It's all surface contamination. There's no heavy rust, no heavy pitting that we can't get rid of. So, but first step in this is I'm going to degrease these components. Now, the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to be using an item made by Zep Manufacturing, which is their industrial purple. It's a heavy-duty degreaser. So I'm actually going to be not necessarily boiling these parts, but putting them in a heated solution to remove all of the CLP and all the other lubricants that have been in the firearm over the past 16 years. It's also going to clean the material up quite a bit. And then once I've got all that extra grease and material out and oil, I'm going to put them in the blast cabinet here and clean them up, strip them down to bare metal, down to the white, Now, it's very important when you're doing this step that you do not touch the parts. You don't want to put all the latent oils and moisture in your hands into the parts. So after I clean these up and boil them, I'll be washing my hands. I'm going to be wearing a pair of neoprene gloves, or nitrile gloves, excuse me, and handling them after that to keep contact with the skin away from it. The Park solution I have to look at the solution ratio, but it's not super extreme. You can use it multiple times for multiple firearms as long as the solution itself doesn't become contaminated, which is one of the reasons that I'm removing all of this oil and moisture out of the firearm itself. So, well, hang around with me. I've got to build a small tank here to boil the parts in, because, you know, good luck finding something that doesn't cost a mint that you can put a barreled receiver in. It doesn't necessarily matter so much for the receiver itself, but for both the boiling process itself and when you're degreasing. But you want to degrease it, strip it, and then bring it up to temperature to put it in the parkerization tank, so you don't shock the solution that you're going to be parkerizing this with, because the solution should be kept approximately 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the optimal plating temperature, is everything I've read. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm not really super concerned about this gun. It's a shooter. It's not a safe queen. It's, as long as it looks good, you know, I go by the 3-foot rule. Let's put it that way. So we'll see how it goes. You know, first time doing this, I figured I'd do it. See how you guys, you know, guys can run along with me and see what happens. So we'll get to it. Anyways, after about 10 minutes of throwing shit together, here's what I come up with for a little tank. I had some gutter left over from a previous project. So I just threw together a strip of gutter with a couple end caps, siliconed it up, sheet metal screwed it together for a little mechanical reinforcement. Again, this is all crap that I had laying around. You know, if I were to guess, you go out and buy it, it'd probably cost you $8. You know what I mean? But hey, it beats ruining the wife's Tupperware, right? But anyways, it's just big enough to hold the rifle in, the barreled action. So all I'm looking for is to just get a layer of water in here and degreaser, so that it'll boil all that garbage that's just built up over the years from use and lubrication. So now here, like I said, I'm not going to be waiting on this thing to frickin' set up and dry for hours and hours on end. It's a fast set silicone caulk that I had laying around. So I mean, I used it in the bathroom. You know, I'm going to go open another $6 tube for shits and giggles. But it's big enough to fit all the components in to degrease, you know. So that's all I'm really interested in. Actually, the pistol grip might give me a problem, but I finagle it in there one way or another. Either way, I'm only going to boil it for a short amount of time here. Like I said, all we're doing here is boiling the lubricant and crud and garbage and grime and whatnot out of it, so that we can sandblast this. So that's what I'm doing. And you know, some people will say, "Oh, hey, well, you got to remove the trunnion and whatnot from the front of the barrel, from the front of the receiver." I'm not pulling a trunnion. This one is welded in there anyway, so there's not much. I'm not cutting the welds. I'm not dealing with that. I'm just going to have to make sure that when I do park this, you're going to have to plug the barrel, and you're going to have to plug the chamber as well. So you don't want all that parkerization solution in there. And my solution to that is some frickin' foam earplugs. I'm going to jam them in there. It's going to be fine. This is an HK anyways. It's got a, or an HK style at least. It's got a ribbed chamber in there. So it's made for, it's got a sloppy tolerance on the chamber. So if I get a little Park solution in there, I'm not too worried about it. I just don't want the rifling all picked up on the inside of the barrel. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to wait a little bit for this to set up. Not too long. Just going to give it a good go and fill it up with water and set it on my grill to burn, or excuse me, to boil. But I'm going to get it as hot as I can, mix the solution up, and let it sit for about 20 minutes and boil that garbage out of it. Alright? Back in a minute. Now, while I've got my tanks heating up, go over a few things that I'm using here. And to degrease the parts, what I'm using is the Zep Industrial Purple. This stuff's pretty cheap. You can get it by the gallon size here. I use it around the house. I use it for degreasing engine parts and whatnot too. Works really well. Just mix it with water. For heavy degrease, you're pretty much per gallon, you're putting 20 ounces in, and then for a light degrease, you're putting 5 or 6. So pretty much a gallon of water and then another pint on top of it. So it works pretty good. But then it says makes up to 25 gallons here. Obviously it's at the light rate. Makes about 5 gallons for heavy degreasing. And then for the actual manganese phosphate coating, Duracoat, which is what I'm going to be putting on the Duracoat Black, which is what I'm going to be coating the rifle with when I'm done. Duracoat makes this manganese phosphate solution. I got this from Midway probably a year and a half ago. I built an AK at the time, and I've been meaning to do that too. So I probably should be experimenting with that one, but fuck it, I want to try it on this one first. But this wasn't too bad, like 30 bucks. This goes at a 1 to 4 ratio. So 1 gallon of this to 4 gallons of water. You can use it as many times as you want. So you pretty much use this. Pretty much you mix it in a 5-gallon bucket is essentially the intent. You know what I mean? So it's not too bad. This will do the dark gray coating that everybody's used to on like a military style firearm, like a Garand or a carbine or whatever. But this is what I'm going to be using on here. Like I said, then I'm going to go over it with a Duracoat Black. So back in a few. As an aside, when you heat the parts up or preheat them for the process, it doesn't really matter what the container is. But so far as when you're actually coating the parts, you need a stainless steel container. Now this is just a bar trough that I picked up real cheap. I think it was like 15 bucks, but it's 100% stainless steel, so I don't have to worry about it. The discoloration is just from me screwing around with heat and water to make sure it held it. But you know, like I said, it was like 15 bucks, 20 bucks, something like that back in the day. And I've had this floating around in the basement for a long time. So hopefully here it'll still hold up. Like I said, I haven't played with it here in a while. I intended to do this whole process a couple years ago, but you know, well, things happen. So yeah. Now another note about the solution here is your boil tank here that I'm using for degreasing. It doesn't really matter what the temperature is. You don't get it up a couple, 180, 200 degrees, as long as it's not boiling, okay? But the phosphate tank that we're going to be doing the parking does matter. You want this to be somewhere in the range of 180 to 200 degrees, but don't exceed that value, because it's going to cause bubbles to form on the parts as they boil, and you'll get a real shit coat. So, just a side note here. And yeah, I just got a couple of I got one $20 cheap thermometer here to monitor the temperature of this tank. I'll have to adjust the gas flow to keep the temperature fairly constant. And I'm shooting for about $1.80, $1.85 to do this at. I'm going to be boiling the parts in here. I'm just getting everything up to temperature right now, make sure everything's stable. And I got this fed on the 20-pound cylinder. This one I'm not too worried about. I got a couple of 1-pound cylinders, and I can refill them off of the big tank if I need to. I'm not going to go through 20 pounds of gas doing this. But like I said, we're just kind of monitoring here, making sure that it doesn't go above our set point. And we want to adjust it to keep it at that set point. And these are just a couple of cheap grills that I got. One for camping, and the other one I picked up today. It was like 30 bucks. You know what I mean? It's good enough to bring the water up to temp, whatever. This one I got a Bass Pro. I think it was like 15 or 20 bucks. It's supposed to connect to a 1-pound cylinder. I just use the adapter hose and hook it up to a 20. Now we don't have to worry about changing it or taking a shit on me. Other than that, right now I'm just waiting for the temperature to come, the solution to come up to temp, so I can boil my parts. And once I've done that, I'm gonna blow them off with a compressor, compressed air, get all the air out of them, and then I'm gonna sandblast them. I'm actually going to be using aluminum oxide. It's a little more aggressive, but you don't have to worry about moisture as much as you do with sand. You know what I mean? So, no big deal. Back in a bit. So I boiled and degreased the majority that was on the trigger guard assembly. And I also had a little bit of stuck garbage down here in the grip, but I decided that what I'll do with it is, what I've already done with it rather, is I've actually put this in a bath of xylene and taken care of it that way. So the xylene dries very quickly. It takes all the grease and oil and grit and grime out of there. If you need something to get rid of that, I can't. I work in industry all the time, and xylene is a godsend to degreasing parts. You have to be very careful with it. You want to wear chemical gloves with it. Some people have issues with it. It will dry out your skin immediately, and some people have issues with psoriasis and whatnot relating to it, or it'll cause a rash or slight chemical burn if you have sensitive skin. So just make sure that you use chemical gloves if you're using it. I don't care if people complain about that. It doesn't bother me. I've used it long enough to know my limitations are with xylene. You can see my hands are a little bit red from using it, and that's irritation. So it is what it is. But it's what it is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sandblast the grip here, set it off to the side. My Parkerization solution is already at 183. I'm still waiting on the bath solution to come up to temperature, and this grill over here just isn't up to the BTU output that this campfire stove is. So if I do it again, I get 2 of these and deep 6 the grill, but is what it is. So alright, I'm going to sandblast this up, set it off to the side, and then we're going to take a look at it. So after sandblasting the trigger grip frame, or the grip frame, lower of the receiver, here's what I have. Okay, everything's been removed, the metal's in the white. I got 99% of the rust off of it. There's a couple of spots, like right here, we can see where the rust came in a little deeper. Some spots where I think, because I think these trigger grip frames are original HKs, because you were able to buy those for $30 with a trigger group several years ago. I'm not sure what the prices are now, but they've probably only gone up, as everything always does. So what I'm going to do, I've just got some stainless wire here. I'm a welder by trade, so I've got some 3/16 stainless filler rod here that I'm going to be using to dip and remove things out of the tank with. We don't have to use tongs or have to worry about having stainless tongs or any of that crap, because regular metal will contaminate the manganese phosphate, or it'll start changing it. You know what I mean? I don't want to play with it. Let's put it that way. So, but I'm going to be using this. So I'm going to try this out, see how well this goes through the process, and then we'll go back from there. Okay, so I had to top the tank back off because the water is evaporating, so I added more water to it. Now it is distilled water too, just so you're aware of that. You should be using distilled water when you mix it with the manganese phosphate. That way, so that the fluoride, chlorine, etc., and regular tap water doesn't contaminate your mixture. Now, I had a brain fart. Now, in order to prevent thermal shocking the plating tank, or treatment tank, however you want to look at it, it's not really plating, but to prevent from thermal shocking the manganese tank. And we're at 185 right now too, by the way. I've started preheating the parts on top of the grill top. I mean, you might as well use the heat, right? It's got a good kick out on the side here that's not being used to heat the solution tank here. So I've got the grip frame already preheated here a bit. Now my only concern with the grip frame is that it's long. So I'm concerned in the tank I have here that I'm not going to be able to get the whole depth of the grip into the solution. If that's the case, well, I'm going to punt. If I got a little bit out here that isn't treated, I'll flip it over and do it again. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So, but I'm going to give her a go here, see if it'll fit. Now, the solution will bubble as it plates the bare steel. Okay, yeah, see, I knew I was going to be a little short there, but it is what it is. Now, the idea here is, as you're treating it, to let the solution bubble until it stops. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take it and put it in a tank of cold water. I've got a old storage tote here I'm going to use for that purpose. full of water already. I'll use that to, basically it's like a quench. It's not really a quench, but it finishes the treatment. So we're going to let this bubble till it completes, and then I'm going to flip it over probably and do the bottom half, and hopefully it'll come out all right, but it is what it is. When I redo this again with some other firearms that I want to recoat, I'm going to build a bigger tank, a bigger stainless tank for those. But this was just economical at the time, and you know, honestly, I bought this for the AK where it doesn't have the protruding grip as part of the frame. I was going to put the whole barreled action of the AK in there, and it fits for that. I'm just repurposing it here for the HK91 clone. But we'll see how it comes. You know, like I said, it's an experiment. You're riding along with me. I've never done this before, so we'll see how well it goes. Now I just pulled this out. You can see where the grip was and wasn't treated at along this line. You can see how it the difference in the material. Here's in the white and here's the gray phosphate. So I'm going to flip this over and get this untreated area, and then I'm going to quench it. Okay, so I've cleaned and I've sandblasted the buttstock assembly, the end receiver cap, internally, externally, etc. It's pretty clean. There's a couple of splits in the welds you can see at the back end there. That's where layers of sheet metal have gone together. There's oil in there. I can't do anything about that. It is what it is. So I'm going to have to do it like it is. Now I didn't rough up the recoil spring rod too much. I tried to just keep it concentrated down here. I don't want all that rough parkerization surface where the buffer rides. The rest of it, the buffer only goes back to about here. So the rest of it should be fine. I'm not too worried about that. I mean, it's only going to be in the solution up to that point anyways. So, but either way, we're going to put that in, and we're going to let this park up. I got to preheat it first, and once I do that, I'll set it in the solution. Alright, now we're going to set it in the solution. Find a center for it. So as you can see, the bubbling is pretty extreme here for the first segment of it. After about 5 minutes it settles down to almost nothing, but you know, you leave it in there for the full 20 minutes or so just because, you know, that's what they recommend, so we're going to go with the manufacturer's recommendation on that. Okay, so what I've done, it's time for me to treat some of the smaller parts. So I got those preheating. Actually, they're about set right now, so I just set them in there. Muzzle device, the buffer, the buffer end cap. So I'm just going to treat those up right now, and should have spaced on, not touching anything. And the last part I have is to do the barrel receiver. Now, like I said, we're going to plug the barrel. HK is roller delay blowback, so you don't have to worry about plugging a gas tube, but if you had an AR or something like that, you're going to have to take the front sight post off and plug the upper gas tube to prevent the water and solution from getting into the barrel itself. I got two earplugs jammed in up here. I've got two of the softy style roll-up ones into the breech itself. So we're going to give this a shot. Hopefully this will go all right. We're going to start baking this out to get some of the oil and oils and garbage that's been set up in here for years, and then we're going to sandblast it. So hopefully she'll turn out all right. The parts that we did park already, I've already parked the end cap with the buffer tube on it, and that came out pretty good. I have no complaints about that one. That one came out pretty good. And so far as the pistol grip assembly, that's how that one shows up. So a couple little lines up there on the back of the grip. I'm not too worried about that. I got a feeling that I can take those off with a little elbow grease. So we'll see. I don't know, maybe they're chemically on there. I guess we'll find out, eh? So either way, we'll see how she looks. Okay, I've degreased the upper receiver, the barreled upper. So what we're going to do now is we're going to string it with a couple of pieces of filler rod so that we can sandblast the upper. I'm also going to blow this off at that time, get much of this water and Zeb purple solution off as I can. And I'm also going to top up my tank with water. So I mean, if you're doing this, you're going to want to get, you know, a 5-gallon thing of distilled water. That's what I had to do. I actually got 5 individual gallons, but because the nearest store didn't have any, but it is what it is. But you're going to want 5 gallons for a rifle. You know what I mean? But you just want to keep it distilled. I don't know if it makes a difference. I've read both ways, but I mean, it's your gun. Why, you know, just err on the side of caution. You know, pay $1 a gallon at Walmart or something like that and get the damn shit. So, all right. So I'm gonna sandblast the rifle body off, the receiver and the barrel, and then we'll see where we're going from there. All right. After that, it's gonna be back into the tank. Okay, so the size of the part is definitely going to make an effect on how long it takes to process in a solution. Now, this is the barreled upper receiver, so I've got that in there now. It's been in there probably about 15 minutes and it's still bubbling. So all the recommendations I've seen have suggested that you leave it in there until it stops bubbling, no matter what the length of time is. It shouldn't affect the coating anywhere else on the part. It should go on even no matter what, allegedly. So we'll see how that goes. The other parts I've made up look pretty damn good for the Parkerizing. They're definitely darker than it was before. It was a light gray Parkerizing, and now it's a dark gray. It's almost like a charcoal. So again, what I plan on doing with these is I'm going to be coating these with Duracoat. I've got the Duracoat here, so I'm going to be mixing that up and putting it in a pre-valve sprayer here and hosing those down. And I ordered all this stuff off of Midway, like I said, probably about, well, this stuff I ordered probably about 8-9 months ago, but I got it here now, so I'm going to use it, and we'll see how well it goes. And I know I'm saying a lot, but making it up on the fly. So I'll see how well this comes out. I'm not anticipating any problems with it, but depending how long it takes me, I guess I'll be back here in a little bit. So anyways, guys, I've coated all these, painted them up with Duracoat. I didn't figure you guys need to see me watch, but the Duracoat instructions say to paint them up and then wait about 20 minutes. You can handle them. I think I'm going to wait a little longer because I put a couple, I went a little heavy. Yeah, I wanted to go a little heavier. But it's an epoxy base finish. So the longer you let it sit, the better off it's going to harden up. And it says that, if you go off the manufacturer's instructions, it says essentially that it'll harden up in the next 2 or 3 weeks to its full capacity. So, but it looks pretty good on there. I'm more than satisfied with how it turned out. You know, whatever. Spent a couple hours on a weekend doing this, and at least you could turn a gun that had a little surface corrosion into something you're not avoiding taking out again like I was. But, you know, happy shooting, guys, and if you like the video, leave a comment, subscribe if you want to. If not, yeah, I got a couple drips in that one. Right below the SEF on the, oh well, let that harden up a little bit more. Is what it is. I'm not too worried about it. It's a shooter. It ain't a safe clean. But you guys like it? Let me know. If not, hopefully it'll help somebody down the road and let somebody know there is an alternative and just, you know, let it sit. All in all, probably about, I mean, you could probably send it away and have it done cheaper if you wanted to, but I'm the kind of guy that likes to just do stuff for himself, you know what I mean? But either way, you guys take care and have a good one.